Hello, I'm Doug, and this is the Taste and Sensibility channel. And today we made it to episode number 4 of popcorn, where we're looking at 3 gourmet yellow popcorns. So as I've been mentioning, I've been a popcorn fiend all my life, and these yellows are probably the kind of taste that I'm after all my life. But I haven't known about these brands or kinds for very long. So these have been really interesting to check out and try. So the first one I got from Amazon, and it is called Dutchman's Old Time General Store Gourmet Yellow Popcorn. So it's not just a popcorn or food site, it's a general store where they have old-timey things, and this is one of them. And I'd have to say, these kernels popped up bigger than these two, and these are more expensive, more gourmet type things. But my popper had an inch or inch and a half more volume from these guys than any of the others I've done. Number 2 here, we have Amish Country, again from the little sampler pack, the 10-pack with different ones. And this one's labeled, it was under yellow, and you can see the kernels are yellow. But it all has a little label on the back that says extra large caramel type. So that implies a flavor note, a sensory characteristic, or they're trying to put that in your head. So we'll see if that turns out that way. And then the last one over here is from Fireworks. Came in a 10-pack of samplers, and I've tried this once before, so 2 episodes took it down this far. Savana Gold Popcorn, which might just be a fancy name for yellow. So that's what we have here. 3 yellows. I'm gonna nose and taste and see what I can describe about them. So I'll mention a couple of other things along the way, but I want to get nosing and tasting. So Mr. Dutchman's going to fall over there if I move the bowl. So let's go. These have all been popped within the last 30 minutes or so, sequentially, in my usual method. It's a great northern whirly style popper. It's all stainless steel. I do the same heat level on that pan. I do the same 90 grams of popcorn. I do the same 2 tablespoons of grapeseed oil. It's very neutral in flavor and hardly ever smokes. And I'm smelling a cooked kind of note here. It makes me think of buttery corn, just smelling this. But it's not very strong. Something's cooked and something's savory beyond corn or butter. It's a hint of a smokiness, a hint of a barbecue smell. It's not necessarily meat, but you associate it with sausage or ham or some kind of pulled pork or something like that, just because of the smokiness. So I think I get the smoky element of those things and not necessarily the meat itself. So interesting nose. I think of Thanksgiving turkey. So there's a cooked aspect to the nose. And maybe cut corn and butter. That would be a new thing to get on a smell for me. So now the Amish Country caramel type. There's definitely more brown. It turns brown when you're on lots of parts that don't get browned over here. These things end up with a lot of brown speckling, blotching. So I'm seeing that as a big difference in the appearance. But the nose is basically the same. Cooked oil, cooked fat, reminiscent of smoke and barbecue meat. Let me jiggle it a little bit. Can't say there's a corn aroma. Not getting the popcorn aroma that you get when it's more fresh. Yeah, it's very much like this. Cooked oil, I'd say, is the main cause. And the scorchiness of the kernels. Let's see if I can point out what I'm talking about. This is a new phenomenon we haven't seen before. Little brown streaks and specks on the surface that this kind doesn't have. And this kind doesn't have. So, Amish Country is a little different. So, let's try Fireworks. less of the savory note, less of the cooked note. I'm going to really get into it. These are smaller kernels. As I said before, this popped up really big for the same mass of popcorn, and these two were smaller by an inch or so, maybe more, inside the popper, which is good 10 inches across, I'd say. Wow. More neutral. Maybe my nose is tired. Might be olfactory fatigue, but I think there was less of the cooked oil and savory ham and turkey smoke thing. It's good. It's in the same direction, but didn't go as far as these two. So I'm not picking up that smoke note or cooked note. So let's cleanse my palate from all that sniffing and be ready to taste. Also, okay, here's a good point. These all have a 1/4 teaspoon of salt thrown into a paper bag. Let's see, I've got one of the bags right here. I dump them in a paper bag, label them carefully, and just shake the heck out of it to get it away from steam and to mix the salt in. So there's a little bit here. This is how I check for unpopped kernels. And man, this didn't have very many. This had a few. This didn't have very many. So I mentioned I had a little issue with the salt in episode number 3, where I thought I needed to put on more, and then it wound up saltier. But I was using regular iodized table salt before for episodes 1 and 2, and it didn't taste salty enough. The particles, the cubes of salt are big, heavy, dense, and you need a lot of oil or something to make it stick to the popcorn. And then in episode 3, I switched to this and upped the amount, and I put that in the text. At the time of editing, I said, oh, well, that's the problem. So I have switched over to this only, but I'm back to a 1/4 teaspoon because it all sticks. I don't see it falling off and ending up in the bag as a loose thing. It is light, small. Well, maybe the overhead camera will pick it up. These are very fine, tiny little flakes so they have more surface area and they're more available to light little pieces to stick to the popcorn. So I think it's all used when you use something like this. So that's the logic behind fine popcorn salt. Now, let's taste it. This is Dutchman's. Wow. A rich, deep flavor, but what is it? There's a corniness to it. There's a brightness to it. And I want to say yellow flavor. It's just yellow, which is not a very good tasting note. And there's less of that umami or savory note from the cooked oil, the smoke note in the nose, the ham and turkey type thing. There's less of that on the palate than there was on the nose. So very good popcorn. Tasty. And I'm noticing the hulls. So these yellow popcorns have tougher, thicker, more resilient hulls than all the other kinds we've had. So a white is tiny with small hulls, and the reds and the blues, purple, black, all those things seem to have small, you could almost call them hull-less because they don't bother you during the eating time or even after. And these things have a way of sticking around and being really tough and surviving even a brushing or flossing once. So I'm getting the hulls here. So it's part of the sensory experience, but it doesn't bother me. Some people can't really put up with it or need the hull-less types. So this is good on all the points. Flavor is stronger than the blue, red, and white things we've had. So I'm going to clean up and move to Amish Country. Amish Country Extra Large. It's good. It's less corny. Some flavor is a little deeper and richer than over here on Dutchman's. But I'm not sure I would call it the corn flavor. What is it? It's more like a base note or a mid-range note when lots of popcorn flavors are light and fluffy in their upper notes, higher notes. And then the kernel shape is a little different. They're more like balls or mushroom. So there, you tend to find a big mass of just the expanded yellow, expanded wider yellow flesh. And there's lots of mouthfeel as you chew into those things. So different. It's salted the right amount with a 1/4 teaspoon on this mess. And I'm liking the flavor and finding it hard to describe the difference. It's either a little less corny or there's an extra note that's hard to describe in a different elevation. It has a mid-range on the palate, on the flavors, that I haven't really considered eating other popcorns. And the hulls, lots of hulls. Okay, so we'll go back in the other direction and then maybe something will pop up from that. So another cleanse. Now, Savana Gold. All natural, gluten-free, non-GMO product. Naturally contains whole grain nutrition. They love putting that stuff on there. Softer, more tender kernels than either of these other two. Softer flavor, but it is in the yellow, corny direction. I think hulls are going to be less of a problem here. And the flavor is not quite as deep and rich as the other two. These are strong flavors in different ways. This is a little lighter and missing some of these features. So again, it's good. It would disappear when you're eating it mindlessly, watching something, or listening to music. Okay, the crunching would interfere with music listening. But it's good. And I wouldn't, if I was tasting it blind, I'm not sure I would guess a yellow. But yeah, I'm not sure I would guess yellow. It's most of the way there to the yellow flavors. They're definitely weaker than over here. Okay, that's the first run through. So they're all good and they differ by small subtleties. This to me is a noticeable step change between the flavor here and the flavor here. And that's a different step. It's a different kind of change going from here to here. Well, this is the lighter. These two are about equal in flavor intensity. And I'm not sure which one I like more. This is new to me and not sure how to describe it or react to it. Can't remember to do left-handed. Light, almost whitish, but there's some corn flavor. And faint notes of the cooked oil, smoke, cooked meat. It's the lightest example of that being in the popcorn. Very good, but these are more interesting to me. And the tenderness is notable compared to these two. These are substantial crunch and bite when you bite in. Okay, Amish Country Caramel-type Extra Large. Stronger flavors, but when I'm following this one, I'm not sure what it's due to. It's not striking me as especially yellow either. The savory note is stronger. The effect of getting some sort of salted, smoked meat is there, but it's very low level. Turkey, ham, or pulled pork come to mind. So I think I would put up with the hulls and the odd shapes and the stronger bite you need to eat this and enjoy this. The physical characteristics of eating it are not going to deter me at all. It may take me weeks or months to figure out this flavor, how to describe it, but it's interesting. You can get large bags of this stuff if it appeals to you. Mine's about gone. So yes, but I'm not sure why. And finally, the one I started on, which has impressed me in the past, I say this is pretty tender. This is the tough guy in this group. Kernels are tender, but they're large. It's well salted. It's corny. I'm picturing yellow corn in my head because I know too much, probably. Very tasty. That cooked something note is very appealing, attractive, noted. So I'd say Dutchman's is my favorite out of this. It's closer to what I'm used to. It's more in line with expectations. This is a surprise and an odd thing you keep wanting to figure out. And then I'm not fighting with hulls or a funny shape or a stronger bite necessary here. So this would be my favorite on a couple levels. It's not a barrier over here, but when you have an option where you don't have all those things you work against or that work against you, this wins. So I like Dutchman's and I have a big bag. Very good. So I think that will wrap up our episode with 3 gourmet yellow popcorns. So please remember to like this video, leave comments and questions down below, subscribe to the channel, click the bell to get notified, share it with somebody that you know likes popcorn. So come back for another interesting comparison. Cheers. Pop till you drop.